Hello everyone and welcome to a new crucial topic in microeconomics, elasticity. We know from the law of demand that when a price falls, quantity demand increases, but by how much? Does it increase by a little or by a lot? Elasticity is how we measure this responsiveness. Today, we will focus on the most important one, price elasticity of demand or PED. Price elasticity of demand (PED) measures the responsiveness of the quantity demanded of a good to a change in its price. In simple terms, it tells how much the quantity demanded stretches or changes when we change the price. The formula for PED is PED equals percentage change in the quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. Because of the law of demand, an inverse relationship, this number will almost always be negative. However, for simplicity, economists usually look at the absolute value, ignoring the minus sign. The numerical value of PD is extremely important. We can categorize it into three main groups. 1. Elastic demand. PD greater than 1, demand is elastic. This means the quantity demanded is very responsive to a change in price. A small percentage change in price leads to a larger percentage change in quantity demanded. 2. Inelastic demand. If PED is less than 1, demand is inelastic. This means the quantity demanded is not very responsive to a change in price. A large percentage change in price leads to only a smaller percentage change in quantity demanded. 3. Unit elastic demand. If PD is exactly 1, demand is unit elastic. The percentage change in quantity demanded is exactly equal to the percentage change in price. Let's see now two extreme cases of elasticity. Perfectly elastic demand. Consumers are infinitely responsive to price changes. At any price above the market price, quantity demanded drops to zero. This is represented by a horizontal demand curve. Real-world approximation. Agricultural products in perfectly competitive markets where farmers are price takers. Second, perfectly inelastic demand. Quantity demanded does not change regardless of price changes. This is represented by a vertical demand curve. Real-world approximation. Life-saving medications with no substitutes. Essential utilities in the very short run. What makes the demand for a good elastic or inelastic? There are 5 key determinants which you can remember with the acronym SPLAT. 1. S. Substitutes. The more substitutes a good has and the closer they are, the more elastic is demand. For example, if the price of Coca-Cola increases, consumers can switch to Pepsi, making demand more elastic. Products with few or no substitutes, like insulin for diabetics, have inelastic demand because consumers have no alternatives. 2. Proportion of income. The larger the proportion of your income a good takes up, the more elastic is demand. You will be very sensitive to a 10% price change on a car, but you probably won't even notice a 10% price change on a box of salt. L. Luxury versus necessity. Luxuries, like sports cars, tend to have elastic demand, as you can easily do without them if the price rises. Necessities, like essential medicine or gasoline for your commute, tend to have very inelastic demand, as you have to buy them regardless of the price. 4. Addiction habit. Products that are habit-forming or addictive, cigarettes, coffee, certain medications, tend to have inelastic demand because consumers find them difficult to reduce consumption even when prices increases. Last one. T. Time. Demand tends to become more elastic over time. If the price of gasoline shoots up overnight, you still have to drive to work tomorrow. But over a year, You might buy a more fuel-efficient car or move closer to your job. You have more time to adjust and find substitutes. The elasticity of demand is reflected in the steepness of the demand curve. A relatively flat demand curve represents elastic demand. A small change in price leads to a huge change in quantity. 2. A relatively steep demand curve represents inelastic demand. A large change in price leads to only a small change in quantity. There are also two extreme theoretical cases. A perfectly horizontal line is perfectly elastic, and a perfectly vertical line is perfectly inelastic. Let's see now some real-world applications. Business pricing decision. Understanding PED is crucial for business making price decisions. The elasticity of demand directly affects revenue when price changes. Elastic demand products. If demand is elastic, raising prices will decrease total revenue because the percentage drop in quantity demanded is greater than the percentage increase in price. Strategy. Consider lowering price to increase revenue or focus on product differentiation to reduce elasticity. Inelastic demand products. If demand is inelastic, raising prices will increase total revenue because the percentage drop in quantity demanded is smaller than the percentage increase in price. Strategy. Price increases can boost revenue without significantly affecting sales volume. Government policy and PED. Tax incidence. PED determines who bears the burden of indirect taxes. When government impose taxes on goods, understanding elasticity helps predict the economic impact. Inelastic demand. Consumers bear most of the tax burden because they continue buying despite price increases. Elastic demand. Producers bear most of the tax burden because consumers significantly reduce purchases when prices rise. Examples. Cigarette taxes. Since demand is relatively inelastic, consumers pay most of the tax through higher prices. Luxury yacht taxes. Since demand is elastic, producers absorb much of the tax to avoid losing sales. Let's summarize the concept of PED. PED measures how responsive quantity demanded is to a change in price. PED greater than 1 is elastic, very responsive. PED lower than 1 is inelastic, not very responsive. The key determinants are substitutes, proportion of income, luxury versus necessity, addiction, habit, and time period. 4. A flat demand curve is elastic, while a steep demand curve is inelastic. And last one, practical applications. PED is essential for business pricing strategies and government tax policy. Understanding elasticity helps predict revenue changes and tax burden distribution. Thanks for watching. In our next video, we will see how firms use PED to make decisions about pricing and revenue. If you found this introduction to elasticity helpful, please like and subscribe. Thank you.